Hey there, everybody, and welcome. This is Taveau DRC of Taveau Creative Leadership, and we're here today. We're sort of on the run, on the move. That's why we sometimes look a little less, more for worse for wear. But we're going to do it anyway, and we're also going to use our podcast to make audio. I'm going to try to define the James 3:17 abiding relationship theology reasons and all the ins and outs, and it's we like a school here. I also want to point out, make it clear that every comment that I make, every video, audio, written message is addressed to Christian leaders and pure-hearted ministers and followers, and that anyone else from any other faith, belief set is always welcome and respected. But I don't want you to get your feelings hurt when I speak out and make it plain when we're dealing with you must be born again relationships. And it's gotten pretty weird out here. And then that's why you see me make the allegory to the barista fellowship, because of the systems upon systems. And, blessed are the pure in heart, they shall see God. You'll perceive God if you have a pure heart. And we're going to try to be pure hearted with you. So today I'm going to make little, reasons of a definition of what James 3:17 is. We have the website, James 3:17, Abiding Relationship Theology at relationshiptheology.org and .com. And the main comments on the homepage are really the philosophy of it. And you can learn from that and teach from it yourself. Train other leaders, please. I'm going to say that we choose James 3:17 because the lack of relationships, the lack of love in the land and ministry, Christian ministry. So I remember the day, and I know many people are not like that, but because it's so prevalent and the time is getting short, we'd rather risk, offending a few people that are not really there with the Lord, not really right with the Lord. And the rest of you who have an ear to hear, you'll understand it. You understand this is not you. It is about the Lord preserving the true Christian, why we love Jesus, what he needs to know about going to fellowship so it's not caustic, harming anybody, or framed in religion, or framed in money offering taking only, or bless me with no love. I keep thinking of my dad, who was born in the Deep South, and he was born in Dallas, Georgia. And he was unsung. He's with the Lord. Nobody knew his name, but at least I got to know a real Christian that was a pastor in my house. And even though I didn't, I went to church, but I wasn't paying attention as a kid, I would notice how he was in real life with my mother, myself, his mother, all the relationships around town, black and white, young or old. And it was healthy, and he didn't check his watch. He wasn't hurrying on to the next appointment, and he wasn't a racial bigot. So I want to honor that and honor that tradition and keep it going. He was servant leadership. So when I looked at how you teach this in a way that speaks to the same the vocabulary and ideas we've had through Christian history, why are we born again? Why do we go to church? And then I'm going to put longer ones like I have now, some longer ones, about 40 minutes, so that you can just sit there and take notes or just get ideas or never turn back on again. That's fine. So as Jesus said in Acts, Jesus was reported about his ministry when people eyed Jesus from afar, when he was alive on earth and in ministry in his personal life, out in the streets with his mother Mary. He was noted in Acts 10:38 that Jesus went about doing good, healing all those who were oppressed by the devil, and the Lord was with him. I'm not reading, it's just the way this is, the setup, it's not as good as I would hope to have, so I forget to look up at you. But anyway, I'm not reading or anything. So we want to look at our attitude of ministry and pray for the leaders and pray for people and pray for the protection of me and for other people that are really in servant leadership, not trying to make it big or not well known. I laugh because my dad went to be with the Lord. He probably thought, I probably touched only a few people in my whole ministry. What good did it do? He also taught school, so he affected two realms and family, which was his prime ministry. And yet now he's being talked about from Dallas, Texas. That's amazing. Dallas, Fort Worth. It's amazing because he is the hero role model for being a non-religious Christian and a pastor as well, and a family person. So parents, you do not know what you're doing. You're filling the hard drive of the emotional love tank hard drive of your child, your baby on up. So it's important what you feed into it. Off stage, not on. All right. So when we look at the definition for abiding, James 3:17 through philosophy, it really means that you either act or react like Jesus. The goal is, when Jesus was alive in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Gospels, that means the good news. He never set up this big template, thou art over everybody, thou art under everybody. He never did this, grandstanding for offerings. He never said, woman, thou art bound, and a chattel and second class. He never had a racist bone. He never looked down at anyone poor, and he didn't look up inordinately to anyone wealthy. He practiced no respecter of person's spirit, which is if anything, that's what I think I'm here for, a lot for. And to have fun in ministry again. Let's have fun. We used to laugh. I laugh. God laughs. It's not all just this. It's not a chore if you're set free from the system, bowing and scraping. So we'll get to that a whole nother day. That'll be a whole topic. So we look at Jesus Christ going about doing good, and he was the office prophet of all the office prophets of the first church, the whole church we know globally for history. He was the first apostle's chief apostle, and yet he went about doing good, intermingling, approachable, on assignment, stopping to play with the children, noticing people, dealing with all kinds of walks of life, and it just didn't faze him. It was just like, oh yeah, I treat them all with respect. So we look at Jesus. That's the goal. What is relationship, abiding relationship theology? How do you do it? How do you know if you're getting it right? That means you just read through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John when Jesus Christ was alive, and take note how he interacted with all the different walks of life, different kinds of situations in ministry, and his personal life with Mary. That's a relationship. And act like Jesus acted. React like Jesus did. James 3:17 comes into play because we know that it isn't that easy. There's no recipe for getting along with people that are different or difficult, like your neighbor or something, or even yourself on a bad day, or your sister or whatever. So people are different. They have different things going on at different times. So it's all the time you keep watch over your heart and my heart to see if you can help go to God when you need it. For James 3:17, peaceful fruit in every relationship. I'm doing it. I might need help more on others' days than today, but I'm working on it too. So some people are easy, like my dad, he's like easygoing. I'm not. I am pretty easygoing until I get really, I don't know, some of these tough customers, the MTCs can sort of bring it out. Mentally tough customers. But I'm usually pretty happy, mellow, chill, and thriving. I feel like I'm really thriving now. So the idea is that if you look at what your heart is doing, and then you gauge a new person, a new visitor, relationship in your life, and say, are they in James 3:17? Am I abiding in James 3:17? And that is that any wisdom that represents God, James 3:17 says that any wisdom that comes from above is first of all pure, peaceable, easily entreated, full of mercy and good fruit, without partiality, without hypocrisy. And then you say, are you acting like that way? If brother so-and-so comes up, or big guy comes up, or tiny lady comes up, whatever, are you acting? And then what are they like if they're strangers? Do they look like that ugly mama used to have, who is a Jezebel or a witch, which is the big one out here in certain quarters? By appearances, I call it spectral evidence, not relationship, not finding out by talking and treating the relationship with respect, the person of God or the person of the devil, whatever one. So there's so much in our theology to cover. Let me just get on with the basic definitions on this one. So you see a person, a human, come down the road, you think, instead of it's a white person, it's a black person, it's two people, it's a Muslim, it's a Christian, it's a Buddhist, it's a who knows who, a Jezebel. Instead, you assess them, not accuse them. It's part of this. You assess them and say, are they going to kill me? Do I know them? And if not, you just watch them for James 3:17. Are they acting purely, peaceably, easily entreated? That means respectful. Full of mercy and good fruit, without partiality, without hypocrisy. Then keep them around. Always keep your eye. Don't trust anybody, practically anybody in this nation, including yourself. Don't get paranoid or hyper, but just only trust God. What does it say? Don't put your trust in princes. Psalm 118, verse 8 and 9. Only put your trust in God. Don't put your trust in men or women. Put your trust in God. We have to do on one day at a time, one day in, one day out. Man, the sun is changing, so I'm going to shift, get my hair back. So the idea, we are all working on it. It's a process, and we can make more progress if we're humble, easily entreated, stay with the Lord, and get our relationship right with Him in our own hearts. And then that would take us requiring not to have any, to look at our heart to say, Lord, do I have any bigotry, bitterness, animosity? Am I stereotyping Christians? Do I am easily spooked and see Jezebels everywhere because my grandmother was one? All that type of thing. So you want to make sure that Jesus's house are safely and relationship ready, relationship friendly and accepting, though you don't say, I would just think, oh yeah, everybody's nice. No, they're not. We're all not nice. But you can at least improve and have the greeters trained, the third people if you're a mega church, down on the floor, they need it definitely. And then not to make sure you have no bigots in your bunch. No bigots in your bunch. If you train families, if you train teenagers, kids on up, to try to aim to abide in James 3:17. Under pressure, you won't have bullying, you won't have divorce, you won't have murder. It will at least minimize it. So what are the good fruits in James 3:17 that God's wisdom says is first of all, pure, peaceable, easily entreated, full of mercy and good fruit? That is Galatians 5:22-23, Paul's fruit of the Spirit, which is love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, meekness, temperance, which i.e. is self-control. Human first part of government is self-control. And that will be a huge teaching with relationship theology, because how can you keep from losing your temper like daddy used to do? Your daddy, mine didn't have that issue. How can you quit from cursing people out, bullying and all this stuff? It starts within. It starts with first inviting. That's why relationship is so big. You have to have a relationship with Jesus Christ and know all the good parts, not just that you're going to get to heaven. That's part of it. That's a good part. But it starts here. It gives you the fruits of the Spirit. It can give you silent patience, silent strength to stand up when people are mean to you and forgive them no matter what they did. It gives you silent self-control. I'm working on that now. The self-control can be talking too much. It can be internet too much, reading too much. It can be gossiping. It can be eating too much. It can be all these different things. So everybody's got their own ballpark to figure out what their root of, self-control, self-government. Or if you have a flash temper, if you are prone to rage outbursts, sometimes there is more than just, oh, I want more patience. I want, that's part of it. There are people I know that I think are wonderful people. God made wonderful people, but they had it so bad, so rough when they were growing up. They were abused and they were really cruelly treated. So they might need deliverance, counseling, and or medication. If you have some kind of mental health issue, hey, I have no fear. I do not look down on anybody with anything. I've seen too many things. The only thing I look down on is manipulation, bullying, control. That's why I guess I look strong, because I've been demeaned, and I used to have to figure out how to not be controlled and dominated in my life, not my parents, later. And then deal with caustic Christ following. Everybody wants you to be sweet baby Jesus. meek and mild, turn that other cheek, walk that extra mile, stay in that blanket all snuggy. Don't ever say anything not sweet. But then I had to read, there are certain things in the Bible where Jesus rose up, stood up, tossed over the temple money changers' ornery tables because they were hurting his father's house. He had zeal for his father's house. So this is why this happened. I have zeal for my father's house, the father house of Father God, creator. The other part, but I will never talk mean or anybody if I see it face to face. But I realized that there's some people who oppose themselves in ministry. 2 Timothy 2:24-26, minister with meekness to those who oppose themselves, born again Christians living in denial, users, licentious, manipulators, cons. And as a newbie out in the deep South, I'd never been around it so big. And therefore, it isn't now. I know, that was years ago, but it was like, wow, tough customers. They're also called Psalm, I think it's 144. David mentions the stay away from the strange children. If you stay away from the strange children and you keep your children away from it, then their children will grow up with a pure, healthy view of ministry and God, and then you will also be preserved and be prosperous. And I didn't know that until later, and I learned the hard way. But it was relationships. See, if they know God or not, if they had a poor background of mom or dad or none, or were beaten up or got a warped view of relationships, perverted view of relationships, or only one off a TV, that they have no real depth in a relationship of mature quality, then they're going to have these issues we meet right now. And that's why I'm mentioning how to train in it and want to do our best at trying to be positive. So therefore, instead of saying, there's some kind of person accusing me, they're accusing me. No, we're not accusing. And I will talk on that pre-law, Genesis 1 and 2, where God had a relationship and he confronted Adam first, the firstborn son, chain of command, even though in it Eve had sinned first. And he confronted him, but he didn't assess him. He didn't let it slide. He wasn't sweet baby Jesus. He went over to talk to him, said, Adam, what happened? Waiting for Adam to fess up. But he, in a relationship thing, Adam preferred his relationship with his wife, and he ducked and avoided at first and said, well, Lord, but then because he'd taken that fruit, that's how he preferred his relationship with his wife first over God. He'd said not to do it. But then when God confronted him and nailed him down in a polite, respectful fashion, he ducked and avoided God, manipulated God to try to get out of it, and then he blame shifted onto his wife and said, oh, it's that woman you gave me. So the ducking, avoiding, blame shifting, manipulation, even of God, accusing, is part of this. And that's what we're teaching on it, being straightforward, straight up. So we hope some of this helps you. I'll be teaching again, but I'm going to put like big ones and little ones. A lot of them will be audio, because if I have a bad hairstyle, or I'm on the go, or out in the car where I can film and do podcasts, which I can put up here, then I will do it. If you have a ministry and you want prayer, please send your prayer requests. Please pray for us. We really need prayer protection. I found that we really don't find a lot of people who are mature emotionally at the grassroots, where they will pray or do anything for anyone that's not themselves. And I will pray for anybody. So if you have a real need, just pray. Mail it to dfwleader@gmail.com. We're going to go on the road in 2000, anytime now, as soon as the Lord provides our van and our ability to get out there. We're going to go and we're going to evangelize. My new call is evangelizing the Christians of the Must Be Born Again community around the United States and around this area. I am ready. And I'll do music, and it'll be fun, but it'll be direct, whatever. We'll have a good time. God bless you. Have a great one. This is Taveau DRC. All right, now listen. There's no need to be disrespectful or mean. Simply abide in James 3:17, on and off the stage. God bless you. Bye-bye. Let's see if I can turn this thing off. We do get to this point